Oh, White Wolves in Altdorf. Oh, we're playing the End Times multiplayer mod in this one, which is a complete balance and stat overhaul to Warhammer 2 created by the Duke. You're going to see the stats of some of these units and poop your pants probably, but fear not, in the Tzeentchian labyrinth of statistical balancing, it all works out in the end. We've got a Ghorgon joining the party in this famed rivalry between Khazrak One-Eye and Graf Boris Todbringer. From what I've seen so far, the changes make for some pretty interesting battles. Cannot speak to how well balanced the mod is on the whole. I don't have anywhere near enough experience for that, but the basic gist of it is the rock, paper, scissors approach has been shied away from a bit in favor of making unit behavior more closely match their equipment and particular role. So for example, Knights of the White Wolf are on horseback and they have a Warhammer. Not exactly a great combo for parrying enemy attacks, so their melee defense is really low, and the way they get things done is by relying on a brutal charge, overwhelming melee attack, AP, and high armor. So they'll get hit a lot, they just won't take that much damage against the standard rank and file. Fatigue has been rebalanced as well, so the final sprint into melee on the charge is the most draining effect, and the penalties for exhaustion are even more severe than the vanilla game, and there are some changes to spells as well. Earthblood now gives vigor and armor instead of healing, and his Jade Wizard has regrowth and Awakening of the Wood for slowing down Beastmen aggression. As for Toddy, the Electric Count is pissed that Khazrak took his freaking eyes, so the Cult of Ulric is out in force and looking for blood, with White Wolves and Demigryph Knights on the prowl. On the right flank, Vanguard deployed in the face of a bunch of angry goats are the Outrider Scouts, a mid-tier cav unit. They have very high melee defense and can last a long time in melee because of their shields, but low killing power. Khazrak One-Eye and a Bray Shaman of the Lore of Death are leading their army here. He has Khazrak's Mail, Scourge, and all the buffs you would associate with Khazrak. Different stat line, of course. It looks like Purple Son of Xerius, Soul Blight, and Spirit Leech as well. For the front line, it's Bestigors, and in the End Times multiplayer, they can bring marks. So they have not been chosen here. None of them have been chosen, but you can only pick one. Mark of Slaanesh, Mark of Nurgle, Mark of Tzeentch, and Mark of Khorne. And the Korok's Manrippers, Halberds in the back, have chosen a mark. They've gone for Slaanesh, which means they're going to be faster, they're going to have higher melee defense, they're going to have immune to psych, but they lose some of their armor, I believe around 40 or so. And the Ghorgon has a completely bananas stat line. B-A-N-A-N-A-S, as Gwen Stefani would say. More than double the weapon strength and HP of Boris and his Griffin. It has been reworked from the original Sam's Ghorgon to be way faster, with Frenzy and the Hunger as well. I do not know the reason why it's over 100 speed. Might have something to do with the animations, but yeah, it's a force of nature. Apparently, it's balanced out by having a stupid long charge range, which makes it become exhausted very quickly, and very low melee defense as well. You might also notice that the skins for some of these units have changed. The unit counts have changed for a lot of them as well. Centaurs and Razor Gore are two good examples. Both a lot darker than they are in the base game, and frankly, I like that a lot. They look really cool. The Razor Gores are going to be pretty scary alongside the Centaurs. They provide a lot of armor piercing, a lot of charge potential that might be able to chunk through these Knights of the White Wolf. But remember, there are no wolves on Altdorf, and here comes the Cult of Ulric, trying to get aggressive as the Ghorgon screams in from the flank. That thing is moving. The Chungus is on the way in, and one or two swipes of those bladed arms will take a few models down, and regrowth will go the way of the Knights of the White Wolf as they retreat behind the safety of the spear line. So, a little bit of skirmishing early. Ungor Raiders opening up with their volleys on the front line of the crossbows and spearmen. And here we go. We've got a full cavalry engagement going off now, while the Ghorgon charges into the fray. Now, the Ghorgon is an anti-monster, anti-cavalry specialist, but certainly with a stat line like that, with over 100 melee attack, goring infantry shouldn't be too much of a problem for it, and slam dunking on the state troops of Midland should be no problem for it whatsoever. Yeah, they're getting carved apart. Spearmen will hold the line for now, while the Razor Gore herd pile in, and Awakening of the Wood from the Jade Wizard. Not going to do a whole lot of damage to the Razor Gore, but slow them down at least if the Knights of the White Wolf look to retreat. Bestigor herd charging in, dealing with the Halberds and Spearmen in the front lines. Demigryph Knights looking for a rear charge, while the Outrider Scouts come in on the Ungor herd on this side. And cavalry is going to be a huge factor for the Cult of Ulric in this battle. They're going to need their heavy cav to put in some serious work, because the infantry engagement is clearly going to go the way of the Beastmen. Vestigors are looking sick too. Scything two-handed axes gonna be a problem for the Demigryph Knights, who have already taken a decent amount of damage. Purple Son of Zirius trying to catch out the Outrider Scouts, but well dodged, definitely dodged by the Duke. And the Purple Sun will rain down on none other than the Beastmen's own troops. Now, Chaos has never really cared a whole lot about jibbing their own models, and certainly gonna kill a lot of Ungor herd anyway, but nothing of value was lost. They're just Ungors. No biggie. Now, that was Vestigors or something might have been a problem, but yeah, Ungor herd, nobody cares. Not even the Beastmen. Not a bad way at all to pad your kill-death ratio stats if you're the Brave Shaman of the Lore of Death. Well, the Ghorgon continues fighting infantry and might look to go after the crossbows and get them terror-routed off the field. Not a terrible idea. Certainly would be good to get rid of some of these ranged units who can deal quite a bit of damage to the low armor of the Beastmen herds. But the problem here is that the Ghorgon is that anti-cav specialist, so dealing with the Knights of the White Wolf or trying to outduel Boris Todbringer might be a better use. Demigryph Knights have gotten chunked down by the Koroks Manrippers. Nice charge coming into the rear of the Vestigor herd from the Outrider Scouts. Remember that their damage is a little bit lacking, so a rear charge from them, their 25 charge bonus won't be impressive. But these Knights of the White Wolf are free, able to run down the Cloven Ones with impunity. They have a passive called Charge Home, which deals additional impact damage when they connect with enemy units at full speed, which can lay waste to entire infantry regiments. There's not a whole lot for the Beastmen on the southern edge of Altdorf outskirts that will allow them to counterplay their rampage. And speaking of rampaging, the burn is the word. Demigryph Knights and Boris fighting back-to-back, slicing through the Beastmen range tools and forcing them backwards. Knights of the White Wolf with another gorgeous hammer and anvil into the Ungor herd, and that entire side of the battlefield is likely to break and buckle under the weight of their assault, while the Razorgore herd, those are some angry, cancerous-looking piggies with some nasty spikes, but Empire State troops holding the line well against them and pushing them backwards too. Soul Blight going down, nice engagement from the Beastmen, and both players have kind of licked their way to the center of the Tootsie Pop pretty quickly here, exposing the ooey-gooey heart of each other's formations, both into the rear. Those halberds completely surrounded by Khazrak, Vestigors, Razorgore herd, and the Brave Shaman. Jade Wizard flying overhead, and Boris and the Demis look to break the Ungor herd quickly. The Raiders are running for the hills, but Koroks Manrippers are nearby and severely messing up the Demis, who might not be around for too much longer if they stick in that fight. Remember, those Koroks Manrippers do have the Mark of Slanesh. They have 40% less armor, but they have more melee defense and immune to psychology as well, which is a big deal when you're fighting against Boris and all the terror that he causes. Things are developing very interestingly, because Midland's completely broken the Bray herd's left flank, but Midland's left flank is about to collapse as well under the weight of the Ghorgon and Razorgore herd assault. These crossbows and spearmen are not going to be around for too much longer, and this terror-causing monster has already made a huge impact on the battle, shut down 2 full units of crossbows, Purple Son of Zirius going down in the background, and it has not yet been used in the role that it really should be, which is slaughtering cavalry and single entity monsters, but that's not to say it hasn't been useful. It certainly has been. Knights of the White Wolf collapsing into the center as Soul Blight goes down for the second time this battle. Graf, Boris, Todbringer, and Khazrak One-Eye dueling it out. I would imagine Boris should win that fight in prolonged melee. Chariot needs to be cycle charging infantry if it really wants to make its cost back, but they are hated rivals. And looks like it might be another Awakening in the Wood going down on the Vestigor herd, while the Razorgores collapse into the center as well. So Ghorgon taking a long time to finish off these crossbows, but well over 100 kills at this point. Finally, the state troops have terror routed, and that should mean the angry Cowl Minotaur Monster Man should be heading this way to deal with Boris and the rest of this cav that is still running roughshod over the Beastmen's back lines. Brayhards put a lot of emphasis into breaking Midland's left flank, and they certainly did so pretty quickly, but they left their own left flank very isolated against the Knights of the White Wolf, who have preyed on many of their cheaper troops. Boris and Khazrak continuing their duel, where the Ghorgon looks on and impales Empire State troops in the rear. Koroks Manrippers are still alive somehow. That immune to psych is keeping them in the fight for so much longer than they would normally be able to stand. But that minus 40% armor might hurt them in dealing with these rank and file spearmen who don't have a lot of armor piercing. Knights of the White Wolf waiting for their rear charge. Balance bar back to about even. It started out in a really awkward position. Again, Beastmen always have a massive advantage on the balance bar. I still don't understand why. If you ever see that at the opening stage of a battle, unless there is some mess up with the funds, then just ignore it, basically. It was literally like 65%, 70% in their favor when this game started, and oh my god, that Ghorgon when it charged in, just leaving a torrent of blood in its wake, going after the Jade Wizard, trying to kill him on his winged Pegasus, which I guess is a little bit redundant. A couple swings of those bladed arms should bring down the rest of these Outriders, who are... they should fall pretty soon here, I would think. And Ghorgon gonna have to put the team on his back, though, because the Bray hurts. Oh my god, look at these charges! Look at that impact damage, that is insane! Just racking up so many kills right now, but one of the only things left for the Beastmen. Khazrak is alive, Bray Shaman of the Lore of Death is alive, and the Ghorgon is alive, but the support have kind of all screwed off. They said, screw you guys, I'm going home. And don't want to deal with that anymore. Yeah, I mean, I don't really blame them. Knights of the White Wolf have been terrors this game. They're up over 300 kills, and they have a full surround off on the Ghorgon now. So this is where we see if the Ghorgon is super OP or not. It has a ridiculous amount of kills at this point, over 200, as the Bray Shaman starts breaking off. Boris dealt with that relatively quickly. But most of those kills were on crossbows and Empire Spearmen, which is not really generating massive amounts of value. So it's been useful so far, but leadership beginning to drop. Boris and Khazrak fighting, and the Ghorgon using that, well, massive mass to push its way through and out-duel the Graph. Yeah, he's got to leave. The Griffin cannot fight the Ghorgon in a 1v1 scenario, but that low melee defense of only 25 should hurt the Minotaur monster as we move into the later stages of this game, and it will be exhausted at this point as well. It's been doing a lot of cycle charging, and the penalties for exhaustion are much larger in this mod, so we'll see what kind of impact that has as well. Razorgore Herd dealing with the Knights of the White Wolf, but they're about to break. Empire State troops holding firm in the face of a lot of adversity. That's where we're beginning to creep a little bit towards Midland and the White Cloak of Ulric. Boris has gotten low multiple times with the regen and regrowth from the Jade Wizard. Should get him right back into this fight. And I think they might be able to drag down this Ghorgon here. We've got a full surround off on it with halberds and spears. And even though it does have 17,000 HP in the hunger, which means it does regenerates in melee combat, I mean, there's only so much cycle charging can do for you when you have such low melee defense. And a lot of its offensive output should be gimped pretty hard at this stage in the battle. Khazrak is one or two blows from that Griffin from dropping. Another massive charge on the way in. Those goring tusks reaping a terrible toll in and amongst the forces of Midland. The Knights of the White Wolf are going to dogpile their way in. And with that charge, one more attack from Boris might precipitate the mass rout they've been looking for this entire game. And looks like the Griffin and Boris Todbringer Electric out of Midland will indeed get the leg up here and take this battlefield. Nicely played from the Empire. What a sweet victory it is to defeat one's hated rival. He's not going to get the killing blow on Khazrak in time, which means their rivalry shall continue, but still a satisfying win nonetheless. Some great plays coming out of both players. And look at that Ghorgon in the bottom right, man. Over 250 kills. Very impressive. But again, not on the targets it really wants to be fighting. And I think getting it exhausted fighting crossbows and spearmen might have been a little bit of a waste when he could have been using it when it's fresh and dealing with the Griffin and with the cavalry in an earlier stage of that battle. And I would have been curious to see what would have happened if it had gotten on target the high value stuff a little bit earlier on. I don't blame anyone for wanting to shut down the range play. I don't think it was a bad idea in and of itself. And obviously with the changes to exhaustion, a lot of players that are using this mod aren't going to be used to those changes. They're not going to realize how impactful exhaustion can be. But I think we saw it in the later stages of that game. It's a good learning opportunity for anyone who's looking to jump into this mod and give it a shot. Knights of the White Wolf, well over 300 kills. Regiments of infantry are bigger in End Times multiplayer, so those kill counts will be a teeny bit inflated, but my god, they still just absolutely shredded the Beastmen back line and were microed very efficiently. And the Empire State Troops really held the line admirably against Bestgors and Ungor Herd as they charged in. Very exciting game, and definitely feels a bit different than your typical vanilla experience. We'll watch this with great interest, and if you guys enjoyed the battle and want to see more of this mod, let me know. See you next time. Peace out.